السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إحنا في آخر
We are in the last session before the awards of ARIJ for the 10th year, and these are the awards for the investigative journalist of 2025. And every year we have an independent jury. Every year this jury is changing, and this year it was Nazeeha Saeed that led the jury, and she is the first woman minister for media in Yemen. And unfortunately, for reasons that are personal, she was not able to be with us with ARIJ. She has led a team of a jury. We shall get to know them, and we shall start seeing the members of the jury, and then we are going to listen from them about their impressions. They have examined 10 investigative articles, and did they form an image of what is taking place in our Arabic region about the profession. Now, in this session, we are going to answer the question, who will be winning? We have a bronze award, silver award, a golden award. Maybe nobody deserves an award. This is what we are going to see after a while in Gaza Hall. We shall start with Nazeeha Saeed, the Bahraini journalist and training, and she has been specialized in the issues of the Gulf countries and North Africa and Southeast Asia, and she has been awarded in the safety of a journalist, and she has been training about gender-sensitive media. Nazeeha, did you know any of the other members with you on the panel today before working together for the last weeks and months? I would like to, by answering your question, Rawan, I know my colleague, Mr. Ahmed, because he did write a report about me in the past, but I have been honored to meet with the other colleagues, Dr. Nadia, Dr. Nawaf, and Rasha. Maybe they also did not know each other. We have Bahrain, Palestine, Syria, but maybe you did not know each other from before, and maybe this is a problem, because if the excellent journalists do not know each other, it is a problem. So this is the purpose of ARIJ Forum, in order for you to get together and know each other. Nazeeha, you have been following ARIJ and investigative articles. What did those constitute for you? Other than the responsibility which we need to take into consideration in that field, and to be attentive to all the investigations which we have followed. There was also the humanitarian dimension and interacting with the different investigations. There were different investigations that took from me more than 3 days to read them, because the material was quite intensive, and the topic it was covering was quite heavy. And I can mention some of them, the investigations about Sudan, and the smuggling of the IDPs to Egypt or other countries, investigations about the suffering of women in certain areas in different countries. These were material that were quite heavy, and I had to gasp some air and read them another day. But also there was a lack of time to read all of those investigations. But of course, the investigations did reflect certain aspects from the region, but there is still a lot to do. And many that are not covered. And allow me to say that the Gulf countries are away from the investigative journalism, whether the production of those investigative articles, nor the participation of the Gulf countries in such awards or similar forums. Even in this forum, we can see only a few people and only a few journalists from the Gulf participating. Dr. Nawaf al-Tamimi, an academic and media consultant, and has over 30 years of experience between the Britain and various Arab countries. And we met when he was an assistant professor at Doha Institute, and we also met in different forums for ARIJ. And you are all volunteer in that work, and you have been working for different weeks and under a lot of psychological pressure. What was your impression after reading all those investigations? It was a task. I felt that it was a trap. I felt that Rowan and Arish did put me in a trap because the investigations for me, first of all, it was a pleasant surprise, but not so pleasant because I have discovered that I am old. I was working in journalism, and those techniques, those tools, those methods of narration were quite advanced, and I need that maybe personally need to further develop my tools, even in reading, even in looking at the different topics. And this is part of the trap I was in. The other issue is that the first team that did filter over 300 investigation and sent us 22 investigation was so strict that today I had to read an investigative article and then to get away from that for 1 week in order to get relieved from the effect of the first investigation and be able to read the next one. And at the end, through our discussions, we have felt that there is a high level and there is style that is similar somehow. There are techniques, of course. The issue of being a member of the jury is not easy. We say that we work in a journalist and that we are unbiased and impartial, but this is the real test to read all those investigations and be objective and be impartial and to judge with a lot of balance what you are reading. It was a trap, as I said, but it was a pleasant trap. Well, if these are similar traps, then we don't have a problem with that, or traps of this sort. Rasha is Syrian. She is residing in Canada currently. She has a knowledge and education editor at World Education and News and Reviews, WENR. And she was specialized in higher education, Alpanar. And she was a trainer with Arab networks for fact checkers. Russia was also an experience between theater and the English language. You have read the different investigation and being a member of the jury. Did these constitute a difference in our region? Just to comment on the question you have asked to our colleague Nazeeha, me, I did not know the other members of the jury before, but I only knew the name, and I believe this is one of the advantages which I had. I had the privilege of meeting with them and the jury, and we got to know each other, although that was only for a short period of time. Let me talk about something personal. Me, as a journalist, I have worked in the region for over 15 years, and during the last 1.5 years, I moved to Canada. And so I was a little bit away from the daily follow-up for the Arab production, and I do follow them every now and then. I had the opportunity to be a member in the jury and to look at a number of investigations. And the most prominent investigation for 2025, and this was at two levels. At the general level, this allowed me to look at the region to which we belong and where I was living until a short period of time ago, and the area to which I have moved. The challenges, the threats, the development, and these are increasing. And from my short experience, these are not different from the problem and challenges which are being faced by the Western world, let us say. But what is really worth noting, I have read some Western articles and investigations around the same topics. For example, the recruitment of youth and exploiting their harsh economic conditions and involving them in wars that do not belong to them nor their beliefs, the rights of labor, what the women are subject in terms of violence and oppression and injustice. I believe that in the Western world there is an echo for similar topics, but it is bigger than the echo in the Arabic region, although they are not less inequality in narration and the level of professionalism. And I also believe in order to be brief, I believe that this is because of our organization. Unfortunately, our investigations are being published by an outlet or a platform on the internet, but we don't have this vast outreach. But in the Western world, we have a larger and widespread. Whenever an investigation is being produced, it is being published by more than one outlet, and so it reaches a large number of readers, and it will have a bigger impact on them and the public opinion, and it will introduce change and leave an impact. I believe that the impact in our region is still limited because we have still a problem in outreach and to achieve an impact. And also, maybe, for example, the marketing of the content, and maybe it is not looked at as being a product. Some people consider that publishing an investigation is the last step, but we believe that it is the first step, and in order to stay for a long period of time. We move now to Mr. Ahmed Ubaydah. He is an anchor and film producer, a Moroccan living in Germany, and he has obtained a PhD from Marrakesh and a master degree from Colonia in Germany. He is an anchor at the Welle and also training for audio material, and he has trained with us at ARIJ, and he has obtained the highest scores in the training. He is quite liked by the trainers, male and female. Are you in a trap similar to Dr. Nawaf, or how do you describe it? It was not a trap, even for Dr. Trap. He said that it was a pleasant trap. Uh, me, I found that there are different investigations that rely on fact-checked information, and 25 investigations that are similar somehow in terms of accuracy and quality, as if they were put in the same mold. But this shows that there has been a lot of effort and follow-up behind all those investigations. I did enjoy reading all those investigations, and I read the 3 investigations and one trend that talks about Safar Barlak, a Yemeni one and an Egyptian one, and a representative from other countries where the citizens are fighting in wars that are not their wars. They are being recruited by Russia. And I made sure that this include a certain curse. Whenever we have large geopolitical wars, we find ourselves in the midst of those wars. Russia is going back to the east in order to recruit people from Yemen and Egypt in its war against Ukraine, similar to how the USA has done during the Cold War when it did recruit people from our region with financing from our region in Afghanistan at that time. And this investigation opened the door for a discussion that must have an impact. Like Russia said, a wider impact rather than having small outlets talking about a social issue. We do not know the number of those combatants, and one day they will return, and how we are going to deal with them when they return. You speak the English, French, Arabic, and the German language. Would you say that the investigation and the Arabic language are less exciting and less quality? Do we have a problem with the marketing? No, not at all. And in terms of quality, no. ARIJ played a role in enhancing the quality of the investigation. I have been for many years following up what has been developed by ARIJ. There is an Arab network for fact checkers that was founded. There is a control over the different work mechanism, and these were instilled in our work. This might be better than many other European or Western countries. And it is this work that made a controversy in Germany, and it is still ongoing. It was an investigation about the ghost snipers that came from Munich in order to kill the citizens of Gaza. And this intersects with an investigation that was done by the Italians about people that are quite mad about killing. They came from the mountains surrounding Sarajevo in order to kill the people that were under seizure during the Balkan War. And that was after the investigation that has been published by ARIJ, and it was published 2 or 3 months later on. This does emphasize that we don't have a discrepancy in terms of levels and the quality, but in covering certain issue. Those ghost snipers, one was in USA and another one in Germany, and they have a dual citizenship. It was a project which we have worked on it with Paper Trail Media, our partners in Germany, and there were journalists in Gaza, the Palestinian martyrs that were killed. For the first time, we have a name for that sniper and a name for that victim. Even at the project of Gaza, we used to say that this is a military brigade, but we did not have a name for that soldier. For example, we could know the name of the officer or but it needs to be accountable for that killing. But it was the first time we do reach that. And this is a great example published by ARIJ and Paper Trail, although it has been published by more than one outlet like ZF and others. It hasn't been published by The Guardian, then it wouldn't have had a lot of effect. They said that this was published by The Guardian. I told them that The Guardian came only the last 10 days. If The Guardian did not come, we wouldn't have had a version in the English language, and maybe this is a problem in the trans-border investigation. Maybe we are lacking certain platforms that believe in this kind of a project. Maybe the number of lawyers that did revise this investigation from Germany to Denmark to Palestine, this on its own is a story by itself. And yes, this is true, and it is an extremely sensitive issue. The Israeli narrative is the one dominating in the different Western media outlets until now and maybe in the future years. And this takes us to another investigation. Those dogs imported from abroad that are biting the innocent people in the West Bank and Gaza and used by the IDF. This will lead us to talk about the alignment between Israel and the Western countries and waiting for peace. And this peace, which seems far away during the next coming years, but there is a dilemma and there is a conflict. Those that are interested in that conflict, they need to know to what extent the Western countries are ready to supply Israel with all the different equipment and tools and those canines. Nazeeha, for the last 6 years, I have been following the award of ARIJ, and I was the head of the jury in 2016. I did participate in the jury in 2018, 2019. I was also a member of the jury. I don't remember quite well. And in 2020, it was an independent committee of a jury. But everybody say as long as it is an Arab conference, we are sure that ARIJ interferes with the jury. We put the pressure on the jurist to vote for a certain investigation. So what can we do? I do not know if this will convince them or not, but even when we were a signal group, Rawan has been kicked out from that group, and we remained chatting with each other. And even in the meeting we have held, we only were the members of the jury in those meetings. And we were upset with each other, and we tried to defend our opinion. There was a lot of pull and push, but at the end we have reached to a democratic decision based on the majority. We have voted on certain investigations, and we were satisfied with some decisions that were not in line with what we wanted, but we had independent opinion, and we, the five, we were fiercely defending our opinion. Maybe you can read an investigation and like it and defend it, although you are just a reader. Dr. Nawaf, is it easy to participate in an Arab committee of jurists from Bahrain, from Palestine, and others? And Nazeeha said that there was a lot of pull and push. We were assured that we had Nazeeha, our integrity, with us. And so we rest assured. I talked about impartiality and objectivity, and also to be balanced. It is also tiring that when you read, for example, investigation number 1 or 2 or 3 and 4, it will be a problem when you read investigation 7 or 8 and 9, and even investigation number 19. This is why I used to say I used to read one investigation and then take a deep breath, some energy, and read the second one, and also to get rid of the effect of the investigation what I have read, because some of those investigations had a great effect on me. The investigation about Gaza, Palestine, the West Bank, those on their own, they say, well, those are our people. And so you need to overcome this dimension between two quotations, the personal dimension. So it wasn't an easy issue, and of course, satisfying all the people is something that cannot be reached. We, as members of the jury, we must deal with that with a lot of integrity and honesty, and we need to play our roles duty. And at the end, we are going to leave the judgment to the audience. You said that this is a topic in the Arab world. Why you did not conduct an investigative investigation about it? Topic issues. Nothing has been covered. Maybe those investigations. Well, there is a tremendous amount of topics. I cannot, for example, impose on what needs to be done. Once again, well, I had to wear 3 hats. Once I look at them as a journalist that worked in that profession, and so I do sympathize with my colleagues and I know their work. Once I look at the issue for putting another hat as an academia, and the third hat as an advisor, and this is the third and the easiest task. If I did something right, then it's okay. If I didn't, nobody is going to blame me. And so putting on those 3 hats was not something easy. But allow me to say about the lessons learned, or rather we call it a takeaway. The main takeaway is that we, through those investigations, we are taking half of the journey, but we stop in the middle of the way and do not complete the whole journey. Those kind of investigation reveal a certain shortcoming, but what next? After that, we have revealed what is going on, what will happen now. The investigations and other outlets do not stop at that point. Why they do not stop at that point? Because my task is not only to reveal. We say that it is an issue of public opinion. It should become an issue of public opinion. And me, when I deal with it as a public opinion, I need to follow up on that. And maybe I will be facing an adverse reaction that will try to marginalize this issue. This is why I say after revealing a certain issue, we need to activate it. In other words, we need to make it active. We need to make it present. And when we face the other current, which we call the adverse current, we reach the most difficult stage whereby we need to escalate that issue in order to be issue that is being a subject of discussion. And this will lead us to the most important phase, is that we must not be empty from any kind of solution. It is not only to tell you that this is the problem, escalate it and give it to the public opinion and then stop at that point. We need to say that there are solutions, that there is constructive journalism. And me, I do say that this task is also difficult. This is why those kind of investigation, we shouldn't stop at publishing them and we take an award from ARIJ. We need to follow them up and to follow.
The other remark is that it is very important, dear colleagues. We in the Arab world, we are up to this point in frustration, in despair, in problems. So whenever investigative journalism does not look or only looks at the scandals, corruption, so on and so forth, this would increase frustration. This would derail journalism from its track. Why? By the way, the Guardian's, Deutsche Welle, New York Times, they do have investigative journalism shedding light on certain positive and constructive phenomena. They raise a certain issue, how the Netherlands addressed it, how the Netherlands addressed the issue of refugees. Did it address it just like the UK? And it's been, no, they did it in a more positive or constructive manner. I told Nawal or Rawan that it is our duty to show that investigative journalism does not only mean shedding light or digging up the negative or the corruption or the abuse of nepotism, favoritism, organized crimes, as much as the other constructive face, the other shiny face. We need to also shed light on it and make it visible because it is important. So we need to mitigate this sense of frustration and disillusionment we live in our communities. Sorry for taking so much of your time. Yeah, there are different colors of investigations. For example, the historical investigations in the West, they are there. Let's dig up something that happened 50 years ago or 100 years ago and do some reveals to show who did this harm, and maybe transitional justice. Also, many or very few journalists address such cases. The journalist, him or herself, can be the owner of the cause and he makes it a public opinion, but you need to have coalitions with other organizations and institutions, because otherwise we will be activists. Because if we want to build coalitions, investigative journalists were too scared to do this because they want to be impartial or neutral, but then they found out that they need to be involved. Russia is interested in writing in the language reservoir. I believe this is a very relevant question about the language and the linguistic reservoir, but my reading might not be objective. It's based on what investigations I read. Thank you, ARIJ, for giving us the whatever you screened. So what we got in the committee, in the jury, is of high quality in terms of narrative, narration, and language. Different styles were used, but let me tell you one small remark I noticed with my colleagues, and we discussed it. It took some of our time when we were discussing the evaluation or thinking of the evaluation. Some of the investigations, they received good or generous support. So they were innovative. They were very good. They employed the support in a very good way in their narrations in terms of the photographic images, the photographer, the graphs, the graphic images. So it was clear. The effort is clearly visible. At the same time, some investigations were very good in terms of the content. However, the techniques of narration were of lesser degree or quality. So it's clear the journalistic production, the financial capacity, the financial resources vary from one organization to another, whether the journalist is independent or whether he's supported by government or supported by the private sector. To a certain extent, or at a certain moment, we all agreed eventually to take this into consideration in our assessment and evaluation. Back to the point you asked of Nazeeha on objectivity, I claim, yes, the jury were very objective. ARIJ does not interfere, and we do have certain categories for every investigation. We look at it from certain criteria and from certain perspectives. And these criteria, according to Dr. Nawaf, we score them. We give them marks. But when we came to the narrative or the narration, we found the differences. Some investigations were more excellent, but we took into consideration that the support varied for them. If they received equal support, maybe all investigations would be at a high visible narrative quality. In the second half of this seminar, we'll move to the Arab world. But one more question on the awards. We received many requests saying, let's make a distinction between the TV, the radio, multimedia, animation, the print. There is the print and the online investigations, and we reject this. We tell them that all forms can compete. Sometimes you have investigation, and the award is open not only for ARIJ affiliates, but it's open for all Arab speakers. So a certain TV station can have a TV investigation. They pay a lot of money on it, and it investigates and it competes with only a text and an image, no videos. Yeah, this is a certain genre on its own, and ARIJ's decision was good because we're trying to reveal some truth that is difficult for the journalists. You need to research, you need to search, you need to investigate, you need to double check and verify and to do fact checking and compare with other sources. So all tools are similar, whether it's graphics, video, radio, or text. This is the journalistic genre, like novel, like theater, like play, like literature. So it's good to have all forms in one basket and you select the best. Let's open the floor for Q&A. 2 questions, some burning questions maybe. Go ahead. Good evening, everyone. 2 or 3 years ago, I was a member of the jury in ARIJ, and I know you have integrity, and ARIJ administration does not interfere. But maybe we can elaborate more because this is for the journalists who present their work to. And the lady here was the head of the jury when I was with ARIJ. And this is one of the predicaments we faced. How can we strike a balance between an investigation on TV in many capitals, and an investigation in writing, and one that uses graphics. You know, this product is different from other investigation that did not have the same visibility like the TV one. We were asked such a question. Maybe you can answer such a question. How did you strike the balance? Thank you so much, Abdullah Maksour, the journalist and the novelist. Go ahead, please. Two questions. Abdullah Bousidi, Arab TV journalist in London. My question is for Ahmed Ubaydah. We know that the challenges the Western media faces today in the field of the news and investigation. Do they face the same challenges in journalism and the ghost snipers investigation and the accurate results and findings? Can this be a legal ground for prosecuting those soldiers? We know Hind Rajab and Amnesty in the West, they rely on the results and the findings of the investigation revealed. So can we prosecute Israeli soldiers? Can we hear from women in the room so we're not gender biased? No voice for women in the room? No? Okay. Go ahead. Who would like to answer? Maksour, who would like to answer Maksour about this challenge that arbitration committees or jury committees face? They try to strike a balance between the different genre. All investigations influenced us in a way or another, whether in writing or supported by multimedia or supported by videos, or some of them, with some WhatsApp messages to show that these things happened, like audio files. So the impact is there, whether they are in writing or with images or they used multimedia. So eventually, we looked at the works in general and we tried to strike a balance. Like Rasha said, we shed light on how much some works received support, and the journalist might be competent, very competent in these types of multimedia, or they know how to get the support. Others did not have the same skills, or they did not get as much support. So we took this into consideration. That's why we did not give priority to those who received more support. We did not give priority to those who received more support to the cause they raised, but to the cause itself and how we received the cause and the facts used to communicate the cause to us. Thank you, Nazeeha. Ahmed, in Germany and the West, between news and investigations, yes, this applies to the organization itself. If it was an organization that has censorship on the news, they will have censorship on the investigations. And most of the successful investigations are done by independent journalists, those who are not affiliated to organization or certain editorial lines. So what applies to the news applies to the investigation in the organizations. There is certain editorial line that applies to all products of the organizations, whereas the most successful the ones liberated from these constraints are by independent ones. As for the ghost sniper, it's been adopted by more than one legal organization, and they filed a case against the German sniper. Now he's not in Germany for this reason. He left Germany for this reason, and his lawyer is in touch with these platforms. So we hope and we believe that investigative journalism will be used to achieve justice in this regard, and we saw some investigations that have been used. Looks like there is a woman who wants to take the floor. Rawan, if you allow me to comment on what Abdullah mentioned. Listen, away from the work of the jury, the compass we have in our mind the compass is that the role of journalism is to report, not to impress. It's reporting, not impressing. We want to report, not to impress. I mean, if you have a cause and you present it in a bad way, yet you accompanied it with videos, multimedia, graphics, this doesn't serve the cause. This wouldn't serve the cause if the way you presented the cause is weak, is not competent. And to exaggerate might undermine the main cause. So you sometimes one text without anything, without any media or multimedia, can prompt your imagination, and you're a novelist. You know, this can uh, pick up your brain, and all the new techniques and graphics might not serve the cause but undermine it. This is the main principle. We took into consideration this thing during our discussions, in addition to the fact that these tools, these techniques are not accessible to everyone on an equal footing. Not everybody has access to them on an equal footing. So, in my opinion, because I come from the academic journalists, I say we need to always focus on the cause, the core of the cause. We used to publish stories without having infographics or videos or multimedia. It was only one pager, and that's it. But you use your imagination to depict some images from the words you read, depict a certain atmosphere. One time I had an investigation with a prisoner in the UK for 18 years. You don't remember it. It's the person who shot the UK ambassador in London in 1989, and Ariel Sharon invaded Lebanon. I mean, he meant, I guess, Israeli ambassador, not the UK. So people forgot about him, but I visited him in prison after 18 years. When I visited him, they took my pen away, my paper, my camera, my phone. So I went there and I wanted to hear him and depict draw an image in my mind and go to the caricature in the newspaper to draw an image of this person, like the closest image of the person that I had in my mind. We didn't use technology or techniques, but I still remember this was the core of the issue. We needed an image of that prisoner. Dr. Nawaf, this is a very beautiful story because it stresses that every story has a spirit, has a soul. Do you communicate the soul of the victims, those who have been done harm? Has this story communicated their reality? Whenever the affected people, when they read it, would they say it represents us? This is something that is not taught in the faculties of journalism. Yeah, it's been there even before the internet. It was published in September 2000. This story in the Middle East newspaper in London. So such stories, this person I'm interviewing for the first time told me, by the way, if 1 hour ago came and told me to get out, I wouldn't get out. I told him why, and he said, now I will get out. He said, an hour ago, I didn't know anyone outside the prison. Now I know you. I will get out because I know you. So this is another predicament, like Rawan said. I came from the black and white story, so I didn't think about the infographics or graphs. So again, having access or the abundance of such tools should not preoccupy us to forget about the spirit or the soul of the story. We'll go back to you in 1 minute, but let's listen to a journalist from Denmark. Go ahead. Did it did these works give you frustrate you or made you more optimistic? Go ahead, please.
Sorry. My name is Nicolina No. I'm a journalist from Denmark, exactly. I also do some jury work, and I'm very interested to hear more about your criteria and how you rated them. That would be lovely explain them to us. And thank you for the great work.
المعايير من يحب أن يشرح؟
Who would like to explain the criteria to us? Rasha? When we first started the work, we received the investigations, and there were 4 core criteria based on which we assess and evaluate the investigation, in addition to some margin to have our personal remarks, our impressions, our opinions, our feedback that might not be listed under the 4 criteria, the 4 pillars. Can I mention them? They're posted on ARIJ, these criteria in English and Arabic anyway. So the 4 criteria related to how unique the idea or the assumption is. Another criteria, the use of narrative methods and how it's used in the story. Another criteria is related to the structure and the methodology used by the investigation. And the 4th one is the impact and the effect created by this investigation. But they gave us this margin, wide margin actually, to comment on these criteria and maybe add another criteria which should be taken into consideration while doing the assessment. If you allow me one more point, maybe we need to have a number of journalists with us. Investigations, sometimes we confuse things. We think that the assumption behind the investigative work should be huge or with the huge impact. Of course, the war on Gaza and all what our brethren in Palestine faced in terms of friends, relatives and journalists, this is huge, and it needs work day and night from us. But at the same time, I would like to remind myself and my female and male journalist friends that investigative work might be about a certain life detail that has to be to do with our day-to-day life. Very local, very localized impact, but it's important and it has an impact on our life in our communities and shows harm, unprecedented harm. And we face the perpetrator because sometimes there are investigations, but they don't reveal the perpetrators. Let's go to Nazeeha and Ahmed before we conclude. Nazeeha, were you more frustrated or more optimistic? What's image you came up? No, I'm more optimistic actually, because this genre was not there in our area 20 years ago, and this genre of journalism is developing, is evolving. More journalists are paying attention and exploring this genre, and there are some Arab investigative journalists or Arab speakers. Their products are in Arabic, and this is something we take pride in. And ARIJ also can be proud of this because you're the network that brought together all those journalists. So I am optimistic despite of my previous remark. The Gulf is still away from this kind of genre. We want to see more Gulf journalists shedding light on their issues in their countries. Those countries are proud to have media cities, and they are proud of those media cities. But unfortunately, when there is an impactful production, we don't see it. It doesn't surface. It does not participate in such competitions. Yeah, and we had some good work from Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman. Some of them got, some awards. Since 1940s in Egypt and Lebanon, they did some investigation, but the methodological training is something that ARIJ contributed to. We contribute to establishing a network that can train on this genre in a methodology that is worldwide. It's been now used in all the countries. What's beautiful about the investigations is some of them are promising, some of them light hope in our life, and some are frustrating. But there is a system, there is an eye looking at corruption, looking at those who have been done injustice, whether politically or socially And this is good. What frustrated me, and I have a question, do we have journalists from Sudan here? From Sudan? Anyone from Sudan? In the forum, yes, we do, but not in the room. We do have fact checkers, we have lawyers, and we have professors. The investigation about churches in Sudan, how can such peaceful people, such generous and gracious people, to have among them this number of criminals and perpetrators and these atrocities we hear about in Sudan, and this, even mosques and churches have been destroyed. The cumulative violence in our region is something scary. In all war crimes, they are outside these interests, and they have their own interests. So we need to look at the weapon manufacturing and how weapons are used. When I see the members of the jury, and we will get to the award ceremony soon, I say there is hope as long as we can have such investigative work from Sudan, Yemen, Palestine, and Libya, to have them visible and to make them visible, yes, under aliases, but sometimes under their real names. And the journalists are bold enough to release and publish. There is still hope, and there are some platforms that are ready to post, because if we publish without having publication platforms, there is a problem. Let me say, in a couple of minutes, we will go to the awards ceremony to announce the works. Yeah, we managed to keep the secret. Even ARIJ team doesn't know the results until we declare them, and this gives them a certain momentum. Yeah, the 10 nominees we host in Jordan in this forum are winners. They managed to be the shortlisted 10 candidates. We wish you all the best. Thank you, the arbitration committee, Nazeeha Saeed, Nawaf, Rasha, Nawaf, and Nadia Saqaf. Thank you, everybody.
شكرا.